Alright, so number one, what is true about negative 9 or negative 1.9 and negative 1 and 48 hundredths when plotted on a number line? Well, this first one here, it would be to the left on a number line because it's a bigger negative. So you're going to be further left. So the second one doesn't work. That one is, if it's further left, it's not going to be closer to 0. So this one is true. The negative 1 and 48 hundredths is closer to 0. Okay, if it's further left, it can't be less than, so it has to be the greater than. So it's A, D, and F are the only correct answers there. So you got to list all of them. Okay, number two, the point on the number line below is the opposite of negative 2/3. Well, negative 2/3, if you look, they're going by threes because of the denominator. So each one of these is talking about 1/3, 2/3, negative 1. So negative 2/3 would be here. The opposite is positive, so it would be C. Okay, now number three. What is the least common denominator for 1/4, 5/3, and 7/9? Well, it can't be 16 because 3 and 9 doesn't go into 16. Can't be 18 because 4 doesn't go into 18. So it's got to be 36 because you want the least. 72 works too, but it's too big. You want the least common denominator, so you want to pick the smallest number. Number four, place an X in the table to show whether each inequality is true or false. Okay, so one of these two has got to be turned into a fraction or a decimal. Or, if you automatically look, this one has a whole number. It's in front of the decimal. This one does not. So, this would be false because they're both negative. And this one would be closer to 0. Okay, now we have negative 8/10 is less than the absolute value of negative 8/10. Well, this absolute value means that's a positive 8/10, so that makes it true. So 9/4 is greater than negative 9/4. Well, automatically, positive, negative. True. So you don't even have to look at the numbers. All you see is it's a positive, it's a negative. It means it's true because it is greater. All right, number 5. The table below shows the elevation of 4 different landforms. So if sea level is at 0 feet, which landform has an elevation that is the farthest from sea level? Well, the one that's farthest away from sea level is going to be the biggest number. Well, that's Lake Indigo. Even though it's negative, that means it's the furthest away. Miss Franco has 64 pencils and 48 erasers. She wants to put an equal number of pencils and erasers into boxes for her students. What is the greatest number of pencils or erasers Miss Franco can put in each box? So this is where you got to find the GCF, the greatest common factor. Okay, so 64, you have 1 and 64, 2, 32. 4 goes in there 16 times. And then 8. And then 48, you got 1, 2, 3, 4 goes in there, 6, 8, 12, 24, and 48. Now, the only ones that match are 8. So it would be 8. Okay, write the numbers in order from greatest to least. So looking at these, we know if we're going greatest to least, we have 3 negatives, so we want these 2 first. So what I would do is change them all to be fractions. It doesn't really matter. It's up to you. Okay, they're all going to be different. So I might change this one into a decimal. So I'm going to do 5 divided by 6. 6 goes into 5 one time, or 0 times. It goes into 48, or 50, 8 times. That's 48. Get 2. And you get 3, 2. So it's going to be repeating. So this one would be 72.83 repeating. This one is 72 and 25 hundredths. So the one that's bigger has got the 8. So this is 72 and 5/6 would go first. Then the 72 and 25 hundredths. Now looking at these three, okay, they're all negatives. So the one that's the smallest negative, the one closer to 0, is going to be the negative 71.1. Then the negative 71 and 1/3, and then negative 72. So that's ordered from greatest to least. Any questions on the first page? All right, flip it to the back. So the first one here, number 8, they want you to plot this on the number line and their opposites. So if you look, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, they're going off of this denominator right here. So what you could do is make this a fraction. So 0.6, this is 6/10. Well, that's 6 over 10, which can be simplified to 3/5, which is negative. So each one of these is representing 1/5, so 2/5, 3/5, 4/5, and then 5 over 5 is 1. So the 1/5 would go right here. The opposite would be right there, negative 1/5. And then I made this a fraction, and it's negative 3/5. So if I start at 0, 1, 2, 3. And the opposite would be positive 3/5. So it should look like that. Number 9, Corey runs every 3rd day and swims every 4th day. If he runs and swims today, how many days will it be before Corey runs and swims again on the same day? Okay, so this is where you're finding the least common multiple. So just go down the list. 3 times 1, 3 times 2, 3 times 3, 3 times 4, 3 times 5, 3 times 6. I'm going to stop there. 4 times 1, 4 times 2, 4 times 3. Oh. And so the next one is going to be 12 days. Number 10, the table below records yesterday's high temperatures for 4 cities. So write the temperatures in correct order from coldest to warmest, which basically means least to greatest. So looking at these, okay, the least would be the negatives. Well, this one would be negative 4 and 5/10, negative 1. Now we have our positive, 4 and 8/10, 12. 11, while in flight, a hot air balloon decreases its elevation by 83 and 2/5 meters, then increases its elevation by 83 and 7/10 meters. So write an inequality to compare the changes in elevation of the hot air balloon. So since I know this is 83 and 7/10, I'm just going to make it a fraction. Now this one, if we want to match it to get common denominators, what's our common denominator going to be? Well, 10. So we're going to multiply by 2. So now you're actually just comparing it 83 and 4/10 compared to 83 and 7/10. Well, just looking at 7 and 4, 7 is bigger. So 83 and 7/10 is the bigger number. And number 12, Mr. Ling stopped for gas before starting on a short road trip. The change in amount of gas in his gas tank was 5.5 gallons. So they want you to plot the change in its opposite. Well, 5.5 is 5.5. So that goes right here. The opposite would be negative. It was on the opposite side. So which statements about the points plotted on the number line are true? The distance of both points from each other is 5.5. That's false because it's 5.5 to 0, not to the other point. Okay, both points have an absolute value of 5.5. That's true because they are both 5.5 from 0. The absolute value of both points is 0. False. And then both points are on the same side of 0. False. So the only one that works is that one.